Just give me a second here, okay? I'm getting a lot of static interference from someone. I'm not sure who it is.
I think it's Joe. Yeah, you have an audio issue, Joe. Like that's it sounds like almost a wireless mic system, and then with some interference in the mics.
Give me a second here. I gotta. Might end up having an issue going live to YouTube, but I can at least get it recorded and posted. Let me just try it real quick. Yeah, I'm just gonna get the recording going, and then I will post it to YouTube after.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, it looks like the recording's going. All right. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. I'll take minutes today. Larry is unable to join us. He had another commitment. We will first go through minutes of previous meeting. Larry distributed those. I will share those on my screen. Jason, would you mind giving me sharing or co-host? Thanks.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, we discussed the budget related to the website, baking in some customization, and town budget proposal. We did a brief review of that. And didn't spend much time on SS Pro. Just working with Jay on that. Not much on the mobile network coverage holes. Give us a brief status update on the DPW system. We have another discussion about that tonight. Reviewed that same budget request for this next fiscal year for our committee. And then Angela collected our accomplishments for the last year.
Matt, when I looked at the minutes, I didn't see any figures for the budget for the website. Are those written down? Are those on some type of document?
I think we're planning to use. It's not part of the budget. I think it's part of the
ARPA.
ARPA. That's right.
But it is town funds. So what are the figures? I mean, I'd like to see the figures if you have a chance later,
Okay.
not right now.
Yeah, we can cover that in that section, but this is just the minutes for the
Are
previous
we
meeting
going to
we're
have a
discussing right
written
now.
request to ARPA, or is this going to be a verbal request?
We
Let's
submitted an ARPA request quite a while ago, and it
Great.
went to the ARPA committee, and they did recommend it to the select board. So then there was some work that Jay did to get a quote from the vendor. So we have both a quote. We had a very high level estimate that went to ARPA, and then Jay got a quote from the Civic Plus vendor. So we have both of those budgetary documents.
I'm not sure what's in the quote, though.
I think we've covered it possibly previous, but if it's okay, let's
we can talk about it later. Let's just get the minutes done.
Just the minutes there, and then we'll go through the action item. We'll get to it. Are there any motions to correct the minutes from our last meeting?
Not from my side.
Okay, I move that we accept the minutes of the December 13th meeting as is.
Second.
Okay. 1 second, let me take notes here. Okay, I'll go around the room. Joe?
Aye.
There we go, thanks. Will?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
And likewise, aye. Okay. All right, great. So let's move on to the next topic on our agenda. We will be deferring our discussion of the practice management software for youth and family services. They're still collecting information and looking towards a meeting with Simple Practice on that subject. Let's move on to the UXR user experience research effort status. And this, of course, serves as input to our website changes. And we have our volunteer researcher, Wan Bing, and I'm going to promote her to a panelist so she can present to us tonight. So promote her right now. Hello, Wan Bing.
There we
How
go.
are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sure.
You want to go ahead and give an
screen
introduction?
sharing is we're talking over each other.
We'll make sure you can screen share. But yeah, go ahead and if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself. I don't know if you've met the rest of the committee yet, and then then you can jump right into the presentation. But I'll give you screen sharing capability.
So I am Wan Bing. I have a background in psychology. Just finished my PhD this past summer, and I've been serving as a volunteer UX researcher for the town of Southborough on this website update endeavor since September-ish. Yes, and excited to present some of the data I found, but it still says I can't screen share.
Yeah, looks like co-host. I can't, as a co-host, give you permissions. Jason, would you mind giving Wan Bing permission to share?
I'm just going to make you a co-host as well, and then you can go ahead and do that.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so this whole project, I guess, started by analyzing the past town survey data. So I don't want it to take too much time. So as you can see on the left, I have like the whole survey analyzed, but I just want to show you some takeaway which sort of inspired our next steps, which is, it has been shown that the function that people engage with the most is the virtual meeting function and the calendar function. So based on the feedback, especially the open-ended feedback we received from the town survey, it looks like moving this video bar. here. Yeah, what is necessary is definitely first to provide a more obvious, easy access to the town meeting Zoom link, explain ways to vote and give feedback. I think this is more related to, you know, the voting situation, which I know does not happen every day, but that's sort of a point that is raised by a lot of participants. And also what's important is to include distilled meeting notes. Some people indicated that they didn't want to, you know, go over the whole meeting to find the information they want. They wanted a, you know, a bullet point of what's covered and, you know, what decisions were made. And also to include up-to-date and interactive calendar. This I will talk about more later in this presentation because that's one of our core goals is to improve the calendar function. And also for this whole website to be more user-friendly and easy to navigate. And what nice to have is to unify the departments and the overall look of the website, improve the search function, improve the online payment portal, and get rid of the transaction fee, which I know it may or may not be possible, but you know, people keep mentioning it, so I just I think it's good to put it here. Also, better presentation of town resources. Again, this will be alluded to again later in this presentation. So let's look at the user interview results. We decided to do user interviews with people just to probe more into what is the current workflow of the users, what job are they looking to accomplish on the website at this stage, and what obstacles they've encountered when trying to accomplish their goals. Excuse me. So here are our participants. I interviewed 7 Southborough residents, age ranging from 48 to 78, so pretty wide age range over there. 6 of the participants serve on 1 or more boards or committee members. All are tech savvy and use the town website at least some. All but 1 use the town calendar of events as well as the virtual meeting. Yeah, just to have to move this video bar everywhere. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, this page is about the job that people are looking to accomplish on the website. So the first most popular task people looking to do on the website is to look up for meeting times and agenda, you know, to get first-hand status update on the issue they are interested in. The second is recordings on YouTube channel, contact information of committee members, followed by town reports, pay bills online, town facility hours, including transfer station, townhouse, when are they open? And last but not least, use the e-alerts to announce events and receive news and announcements from groups of interest. So these are sort of the areas that we need to keep in mind when making the new version of the website, you know, that we definitely want to keep and focus on improving. So looking at the general suggestions, you don't have to read into this. I just summarized it into a nicer diagram over here. People give a lot of advice on how to improve this website, and here is just a distilled version. The biggest thing, biggest overall suggestion about, I think, information, how do we present information, how do we structure information, is to have you know, more up-to-date information from every department, including meetings, news and announcements, member list of committees, maps, and demographics of the town, etc. So basically, you know, a lot of the sections of the website is, you know, it's fine, it's easy to find. However, the information is not up to date, so people, you know, come here, see it's outdated, and you know, go away thinking that this website is not as useful as they expect it to be. So they just look for other information sources, and that is mentioned by almost every participant. Also, people have been mentioning that the rolling banner and pictures on the homepage take too much space, and they have to scroll down to see important information such as the Citizen Action Center. Yeah, the design and color scheme look very outdated. Many people don't like the army green color. which I believe, in the new version of Civic Plus, the design is more minimalistic and cleaner. Also,
Right.
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, neither do I. The color is ugly.
Yeah, I remember a participant just said, it looks like somebody did a good job 15 years ago, and it just has been there for a while. Yeah, which I agree. So next thing, I'm just trying to make sure I cover everything here. Yeah, need ways to submit questions, requests, and suggestions. This point also come up in the town survey, which is, to keep information really transparent, and at the same time, make the information flow both way. Being able to learn information from the website, but also being able to give feedback, suggestions to the government, and at the same time know that somebody will look at it. Some example I see people mentioning are, what if I want a stop sign on the street? I need something removed from a place. They want a venue to submit that request. And we can also make link to survey polling people's opinion about decisions, and making their voice heard when, what did I do? When it comes to infrastructure improvement. So those are just some of the points that I've seen. Also, departments and boards must be more transparent about what's going on, including activities and budget. Web editing must be less centralized. People should be held accountable for the content they are controlling. This, although I don't only have like 2 people here, but I see this come up a lot actually in a lot of interview, is that, the reason why we're not able to keep the information up to date is that, we don't know who should be held accountable on updating this information, and there just doesn't seem like a consequence if it's not up to date. So yeah,
that's also the driver why so many different entities get their own web services. Right?
Yeah,
If it's too hard or too difficult or doesn't handle the functionality they need, then they'll just spin off their own website, their own custom domain name for their board or committee or whatever. So
yeah. I understand there is this trade-off of, we don't have to drag too many people on board to edit the website. We want to keep the information source, credible, but yeah, it's, we can't only have like 2 people being able to edit it. It will be too much job to put on a single person or a few person.
So
well,
Matt, just to pick up on that comment, so you're saying if we upgrade the website, other departments will not, or let's say departments who already have spun off will come back to this website?
I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying it's a hope. And until we have role-based access control with delegated permissions to edit their content, the likelihood and probability of them coming back is low. So this is sort of the first step.
Is that a function of the new website?
I do believe that the new website software, and Jason can correct me if I'm wrong, the new website software, the ability to grant permissions it has increased or better ability to grant permissions over respective portions of the site. Is that accurate, Jason?
Yeah, that is correct. It has a lot of granular security that you can modify users to what type of permissions they have access to on the website and what they can do, whether it's like, just modifying their particular page, eliminating them from updating agendas or and stuff like that, because the agendas will always have to come from the town clerk's office. And William, to kind of answer a little bit of your question, I know Matt pretty much alluded to this as well, is there are a few modules and specific modifications that can be done with the people who are not part of us right now, like the library or recreations. Their websites are very tailored to what they do. So it may not be capable to do what they want specifically in Civic Plus, whereas recreations is using MyRec and it's very tailored to recreations, and libraries using their website particular to being able to check out books and all of that other stuff. So I don't foresee Civic Plus doing that kind of stuff to, to help recreations or library, which are the two outliers that are, that are using something different.
I think aren't there other boards and committees that have spun up their own websites?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that they have Facebook pages.
Yeah, there's like the Southborough Police Facebook page and some
Yeah.
scattering of things like that.
Sorry, I thought I had my camera on the whole time. I just realized I didn't. Yeah, there's a lot of departments that have like a Facebook page, Twitter account, but I'm not 100% of people having their own spun up sites besides recreations, the library, and I don't even think, Youth and Family Services definitely doesn't as well.
Yeah.
Senior Center, if I recall.
Well, Senior Center, they do have their own, yeah.
Yeah, my Senior Center, yeah.
But
Southborough Access Media.
Southborough Access Media is their own, like they're on their own. They don't, at least from what I've heard from I believe she's the CEO currently. They are their own entity in a sense. They're not technically part of the town.
How about the Historical Society? It's also a separate entity.
Separate entity. So, yeah, Historical Society is definitely a separate entity.
so, this is a perhaps capability, but it doesn't sound like there's going to be too many websites that come back into the fold as a result of this.
Well, we don't know that. So, and same thing with Facebook pages. I mean, Facebook is the easy way of spinning up a page or a site. And whereas today, every board and committee, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, has a site on or a page on the town website, but some of them also have Facebook pages, and they've done that why have boards and committees spun up Facebook pages? It's because they've wanted to drive additional engagement through, social media platforms. So my hope is that you don't have to pick or choose. You can actually have one location, and hopefully through better, syncing and better access to content, these boards and committees can administer their town page and then have it automatically post their relevant Facebook page or whatever.
Well, the Facebook pages are free. I don't particularly like Facebook, but they are. People are comfortable with it. If we wanted them to stop using Facebook, we'd have to provide training for this, right?
I think let's outline our goals here. Our goals are not to stop people from doing things. Our goals are to make it easier for citizens to engage with the town. So how do we do that?
Well,
it's not to stop people from using Facebook.
I understand that, but there are two ways to do that. One way is to buy new technology, right? But the other way is just that, and it sounds like in a lot of cases that it's really going to be, getting people to be more active in updating their information, and that's not going to be addressed with new technology or old technology. That's a different approach there.
I would actually disagree. Technology can help people make it simpler for people to update their information and keep it active and keep it live.
Okay. Well, this gets back to a question I've asked earlier, which is, how many people can actually go in and update and create web pages? Is it an unlimited number of seats, or do we have to pay for a certain number of seats?
No, there is an unlimited seats for being able to edit items. Currently, there are quite a few users in Civic Plus that make changes and edits to their page currently in place right now.
Right.
So those same users would be available to do that same thing in the new platform, which will, to some of the things that I apologize if I mispronounce this, but one being is talking about is a lot. It's going to make the new platform is going to make a lot of this easier for the user to do. which is probably the reason why a lot of things don't get updated and pushed out all the time now, because people cannot figure it out. It's very difficult to, for a base user to just log in there and start adding things. Whereas this is going to be more of a drag and drop modular type approach to the website, which would make it easier for people to kind of want to be in there and make changes and push out updates.
Are people going to need training to do this?
Yeah, and that's all been part of the quote.
How many people will they train?
As many as I bring to the training. They'll have it wherever I choose to have it. As many people as I want to have part of the training. They told me to just give them a list of names, and they'll come. When this time comes, they'll come on site and they'll do the training for us. Or whether it's web based or through either Zoom or something, they'll do the training for us. So, and then I can record that training, and then I can show that training to other people as well.
Well, I guess the other question would just be, and I've had experience in getting access to be able to modify sites, and there's a certain amount of administration that your department has to do, and you're essentially talking about now suddenly having to, all those people you mentioned who go in and modify their content, you're going to have to be administering those people, correct?
Not necessarily, I guess. So they're only going to have permissions to what they should have permissions to.
Yes, so but that requires going into an interface and saying, Joe Blow here has permissions for this, but not that.
Yeah. Will, what challenge or what problem are you identifying, and what? Yeah. Yeah. What are you?
Well,
what's the issue here?
I'm just saying that if we're going to upgrade for these capabilities, I think we should think through what we're getting into and whether or not we're going to, will people come to the training? That's one thing. Second thing is the amount of administration that it's going to take. And then, the third issue would just be that, as Jay has said, there are a lot of people who have gone in already and created content or modified content in Civics Plus, what we have now. And all of that's going to have to be converted over. So, these are just standard steps, and I'd like to know how deep the water is that we're stepping into.
Okay. The reason why we're updating is because the software, that site that we're on is pretty much end of life, from my understanding. They're not really maintaining, they're not adding functionality to it. It's antiquated, it's 15 years old. And in addition to that, we have a lot of things, as Juan Bing has pointed out, identified both through the town survey as well as one-on interviews, that the system as it is now is broken.
Well, and as I pointed out, Matt, a lot of the breakage that you talk about is not so much the technology we have, but it's the fact that people are not updating stuff. And I'm not sure that that's magically going to change.
But that's part of it, Warren.
That's a false dichotomy,
William. Is that that's exactly part of it, though. It's because it's broken. It's because they're not updating their stuff. I mean, everything that we're doing here is going to equate a positive outreach to the community. That's
okay.
That's the whole point.
Well then let's just, here's a request, and that is, why don't we try and identify, and we've made a start, but let's identify the groups that we think should be updating their sites more often, and then we can track whether or not we've reached that as a goal and whether or not we're successful.
I think the point that you're making, Will, is it's not just a technology problem. It's also a content problem as well. The technology is going to help us distribute the rights across the departments and the groups. But, every department needs to name someone. They need to have a person who's going to be their responsible person for their site. So you have to have the ownership. And then along with the technical training, we should provide some best practices. We should provide some guidelines on content. Maybe we need to come up with a small form that says, don't just post your meeting agendas, post, the 3 decisions that you made, post the, votes that were taken. Something that also helps address the issues that we're hearing from constituents about not wanting to go to the website and have to read through 12 pages of meeting minutes, but how do I get that concise content that I'm looking for? I think there's definitely work there to do.
I agree 100% with what you just said. I think, you know, this upgrade is not just technology. This upgrade should be to actually present better information, easier to find information, more up-to-date information. And a lot of what I just said is going to require behavior changes, and that's something that we should put on the plan. And, you know, make sure that people understand that that is the kinds of things that are going to have to change to make this whole process a success.
So, and just so you know, it is part of the plan. And that's exactly what I've been doing internally, is assigning ambassadors to each department, not assigning myself, but reaching out to each department, asking for an ambassador for each department. That this person is not only going to be part of the input on what gets put on their page, particularly, or on the site, but also to be the ambassador going forward for their page, to make their changes, to make their updates, to make sure things are being posted. And just to some of the things you were saying, Angela, as well, is the only unfortunate thing we, as you know, department heads and across the board, even committees, and this is coming from the town clerk's office, is we're not allowed to upload agendas. That has to come from the town clerk's office. All right. So and like if you know, to points of like, you know, bullet points on what's in an agenda, again, that if that's something that is communicated to the town clerk, then they can upload that stuff, you know, to the website as well. It's just there's some things that the town clerk's office kind of says, hey, this is our responsibility. We have to make sure it comes from specific people, like the agendas, you know, when a meeting is set. The things that I have control over would be like the Zoom links, where the Zoom links are going to be, where the YouTube video is going to be, like how to get there easier so it's more presentable for people to get there. Stuff like that I have more control over. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the plan, is to get an ambassador on each department and say, hey, this is your responsibility. How can you make changes? What can you make better in your page? How can you get that information out there? And at, you know, at the same time, try to get the people that are in committees that are, you know, on the website as well currently, what people I can do, what people I can talk to get, you know, them involved in making sure that their pages are updated. The problem with when it comes to committees is, you know, committee members are not always there, in the sense of, you know, they're termed, right? So they're only there for 3 years, and then who's going to be that person? Hopefully they assign another person or someone who wants to be involved with doing that kind of stuff. So it becomes a little hazy when it comes to committee members and stuff. But at least, you know, internally, that's the goal, is to have somebody as an ambassador for each department to get this stuff done.
Yes, I agree. And, you know, what I would say is that you're exactly right, that some committees are going to be responsive to this and others are not. I think the main thing that we need to make sure doesn't happen is that a whole bunch of committees come to the select board and say, where the hell's my stuff? You guys changed the website, and all the stuff that I thought was going to get converted isn't, or it's not up to what I'd like, and no one talked to me. Now, if, you know, it might be that they do come, but if someone can say, well, hey, here's the times where we came to talk to you or tried to, and here's the times where we offered training, but no one took advantage of it, then that's fine. But I just, you know, if it gets to the point where people are saying, you know, that, and they're right, that no one did come to talk to them because they fell through the cracks, that's not going to be a good thing. And that's why I say, I mean, I agree with Angela, this is not really a technology issue as much as it is a getting behavior and getting, let's say, a new ethos in terms of how people are presenting information and how quickly they're updating it, and how they're using any tools that we give them, old or new, that, you know, to communicate with the community. That will be a success. Updating a website to new technology will not, if that's all that happens.
Not the plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. One being, please continue.
Okay, cool. I love the discussion. Some of the points I hear people talking about, you know, is consistent with what we discussed. I actually talked to the town clerk about the information he was able to change, and yeah, that's another discussion. We can talk about it. We can first go through what I have here in the slide and then dive into that topic. So where were I? Where was I? Yeah, so things are seen to be buried too deep, so that it needs a lot of click to get into the most frequently used functions. So people want it to be in a more obvious place. This includes, function like links like the rec center, library. What else? Yeah, just I can show you the detailed data in another day, but the most frequently used functions, like it is for the for a lot of other town websites, we can make like hotkeys, like 10 most frequently used actions, and give them an icon and put it on the front page, so that people can see it once they open the website. And people also mentioned the accessibility issue. And the translation, which I think is already exists in the current website, and that is also that will persist in the new version. So I don't think people provide me, any specific detail about how this should be improved. I guess just in consideration of, as easier to use website for seniors and people with disabilities, but I see it as, at least in the new version, we're still going to have that feature. And also the backend editing interface and personnel management system is awful. I think people who has been using that or has the, are authorized to use that all were complaining about, the way that they added the website is very cumbersome. Like the picture won't go to the place they want them to go. The interface is sort of ugly and outdated, and the personnel management, like you want to kick somebody out of the system, but they like ended up being in another place. I have no idea whether that is improved in the most recent version of Civic Plus, but that is a concern coming from people who are able to edit the content.
I have to imagine it's better. It
Yeah.
could be worse. And going back to the accessibility, also, I have to imagine that they've probably made improvements around accessibility, but that's just a hypothesis.
Yeah. The only thing I can think about is, improving the color contrast. But it doesn't seem like we have a whole lot of, color-coded things on the website, so that people have to see the color in order to identify what we mean. So I think we're not in a big trouble about that. And, I know a lot of you alluded to this already, we need a more unified way of organizing information across boards and committees. That may or may not be possible because, committees have their own website and are pretty satisfied with them. But I do think this is not as important as, making things easier to find, more clear and more up to date. And also, we need to make the resource of the town more obvious, like the financial aids, financial assistance information, healthcare resources. I heard that there are nurses available in the town to, help people in need, which I think are really awesome. But those resources and how to access them are now very hard to find on the website. So that's pretty much I have for general suggestions. Later, I have a more specific suggestion for a calendar and the virtual meeting function. But I want to stop here and see if people have any questions about the content so far.
Were you, well, first of all, thank you very much for all the work that you did on this. We're all volunteers as well, and we understand how time consuming that can be. So thank you very much for all the work you put into this.
My pleasure.
I'm just curious if you had any opportunity after the interviews to look at the modules that Civic Plus offers and see if all the feedback was covered by, exactly what we plan to implement, or were there any add-on modules that we also thought would be needed?
Yeah, good question. So I do have a section here called, suggestions for a Civic Plus package. I sent this information to Matt earlier, I think last month, because he mentioned that there is a promotion that is expiring at the before Christmas, and we have to, you know, get information about module recommendation before then. So you might already see this part. Here I marked the functions that Civic Plus has that's corresponding to the suggestions that people make, but certainly this does not cover everything. I do think the suggestions I heard from users are far more than what Civic Plus can offer. The biggest thing is for sure keeping information up to date. Again, like what William said, it is a content problem, and but I do believe that, you know, with this new website getting started, and you know, people will be more excited about this new start, and whoever doesn't like the old version, either for it to be the look or, you know, the hard to use issue, will, you know, give it another shot, and it's a good starting point for people to pick up the rhythm of updating their own website. So I mean, own information.
So there's nothing obvious that we need, and what I think I hear you saying is it's a good opportunity to get the base changed over, you know, get the core of the foundation of the platform changed. And then once we've got people using the new system, if there are any add-on modules, we can evaluate that after the original project's done.
I'm not sure what you mean by add-on module, like, you know, some, I would say these are like functions modules. Yeah.
Civic Clerk is a separate subscription.
Yeah,
I think.
Was that the only one, Matt, or were there? I
don't know about Civics. I think there may be some others, but
like credit card processing. I mean, I think most of it is included in the base product, most of the stuff that we would want. And then there were just a couple that were extra modules. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, so these, excuse me, these 2 pages, if I don't have time to cover them in this meeting, I'll send the PowerPoint over to Matt, and you can check if these are, you know, available in the basic package. Yes, and also some backend issue. We probably won't be able to know how easy to use it is until we get that. So.
Yeah, so it sounds like it might be one of these things. I'm still unclear what's included by default and how easy it is versus the add-on. So we start with the base.
There is a document that was part of the, it's called the Civic Engage Central Premium Website Proposal. I think we've shared that with this group in the past. And it has a very well-documented view of all of the functionality of the sophomore. If folks haven't read that recently, it might be a great document just to go back and take a look at, because it does explain the accessibility functionality. It talks about the WYSIWYG editor and all of those functions. So that's actually a really good document and really helpful.
That's great. Does it also cover the optional add-ons?
It does, I believe so, yeah.
Including the ones that we are subscribing to, as well as optional ones we're not subscribing to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't think it's a public document. I think it has pricing in it. Does it have pricing? No,
Could you send out a copy of that to everybody? I think that'd be most helpful.
Does this have pricing in it, Jay, or anything that can't be shared?
I'm not sure if it had pricing so much as it had like what the add-on was, and it would probably, I think it said like additional fees, inquire within or something like that for whatever was extra in a sense.
Yeah, it doesn't look like this has any pricing in it, so I'll send it over to everybody. So.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we can look into, you know, the detailed suggestions for the calendar function. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
I was just curious. In the this was a survey that you did. Was it 2 separate? Was it like an in-person survey and a like over like this like Survey Monkey type of
So from the general suggestions, actually from here, these are all user interviews. So it's a 40 minutes to 1 hour user interview one at a time over Zoom. And they share their screen and show me how they do certain tasks. So it's not like a questionnaire sent out to people. I talk to them like quote unquote face to face.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that was the total then was 7 people that were interviewed for this then.
Yes. Yes.
Just curious. Thank you.
Mm. Yeah, so calendar is one of the most frequently used functions for citizens, and that's why I asked a few more questions about this function. First, it is located in the lower section of the website. Is a bit hard to find, but after we get rid of the banner and all that, this should be more visible. And yes, one point people raised is, the event tab is very hard to find. And by event tab, I'm talking about this tab. Looks like people see this module and it's very hard to discover the 3, alternative tabs on the top. Yeah, almost everybody mentioned that. And the calendar is not up to date and incomplete. It drives me away to the blog. We all know the existence of the blog, and that's a very important source of information for the residents. And people express the concern that, oh, what if the lady who's managing the blog, stop managing it? Like, where are we going to find this information? So I guess before, like when she's still managing it, it will be great to, have a link at least on our website linking to her blog. Pointing people to that information. And if, say, one day she stops managing it, I think it will be good to, have a place in the town website and take over that function.
So she views herself as Beth Mello, My Southborough. She views herself as a sort of independent reporter, journalist. And that's her value add. She is intentionally sort of having an independent view of the town, not as part of the town.
Gotcha.
So, and I think she is maybe trying to fill in some of the deficiencies with information on the website, but she also wants to maintain that independence. Joe, do you have a comment?
Yeah, you hit one part with the independence. The second is that any links directly off could be construed as an endorsement, which may or may not be a problem. And thirdly, Beth is the second manager of that site. Actually, she inherited it from, or had it passed on from somebody else who has left the region. So there, in concerns of continuity, you can't say that's a solved problem, but there's an example of it already having happened.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I mean, I know it's very hard to, like move the whole blog to the website, but, if we solve the information update problem and keep everything updated, I believe that is, a large part of the reason why people are looking at the blog is because we don't have that information available here. Yeah, so next point is not sure what's the difference between meetings and events. You should merge the two or use more precise names, like town meetings or committee events. That's the example I heard. I know that meetings is managed by the town clerk and events is managed by other people. So the town clerk is, I think I get the sense that he's doing a good job keeping everything updated. But maybe more for regular residents, they're more interested in the community events, which is very hard to discover here and definitely needs to be more updated.
Jay, do you happen to know the difference between meetings and events? And I guess the initial thought is, yeah, maybe meetings is the official thing that the town clerk owns. But is it important that those be separate from a user standpoint, or is it okay? Would it be okay if we sort of merge those into a single category? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not honestly, I don't even know what events are in there and why it is categorized that way. But I do know this, that the new calendar that we can embed into the website can be a number of things. It's very open to what we can change in there. In other words, we can have everything in one calendar if we wanted to, and just people highlight over the items. The calendar is much more presentable, it's much more bigger, it's much more like user-friendly. We could even embed it with something internal, like if we wanted to embed it with something from a Microsoft product standpoint, we could embed it with that. Or if recreations wanted to, put their events in there as well, they could, because we could just type in, what the calendar, where it's coming from, and it'll just pull that information and throw it in there. So there's a lot more user-friendly abilities with the newer calendar. So, a lot of this that I'm seeing, I'm thinking, yep, we definitely should be able to fix that. We should be able to fix that. This should be good. So it's pretty exciting in the sense to see that the things that are a problem, we should be able to correct at some point soon.
We'll need to come up with some classifications of event types, and we should have town public meetings, social events, classes, because there could be a use case where someone wants to see everything on one calendar, but then you could also see wanting to be able to filter it out to just see town meetings or just see social events or just see classes. So that might be something we have to work with Civic Plus to just come up with some categories.
Will this be part of our conversion project, or?
It would be part of working with them on the implementation. Yes.
Mr. Donovan, you have a comment? Welcome, by the way.
And if I may, I just want to say that when the town went to the Drupal product from the previous website, there was a discussion about doing combined event calendar for every department. And I just want to warn you, I could show you guys what the library calendar looks like. And there are times we do 5 events in a day, and that's not uncommon. So if you combine that with what recreation schedule is going to be, like if you were to individually list all of the RAP programs, for instance, then combine that with the senior center calendar. Like, I just want you to fully understand what a combined calendar is going to look like. I think there's a reason why they went a different direction back then. So this isn't really that helpful, because I know you guys are trying to get everything in one place, but there needs to be a way to somehow condense that information so that it wouldn't drive people crazy. There's going to be so many things that it's going to be overwhelming for people, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what Angela is suggesting, is that if we have a good categorization, then people can select what are the categories that they are most interested in and what they want to see, and everything else will be invisible to them or hidden for them. And they can, of course, subscribe their own calendars and so forth. Yeah.
But Ryan, do you currently update calendars on 2 different sites? You have your own site, and then there's the town site. Do you update calendars in 2 places?
Internally, we actually update calendars in many places. We have like an what I've tried to do is make it so that once our website calendar is updated, that's a confirmed event. And we've tried to use that as like the focal point. But at one point we were updating events on Facebook. I mean, we as a marketing tool, we've tried to update as many places as possible. And then we're also looking at a new calendar product that was part of our Museum Pass system that came as part of a package. So we're seeing if that is going to help long-term too, because we're trying to get events posted internally. Because what I'm finding, guys, is that people still don't go to our website for events. It doesn't matter how many times I tell users to do this, is that it's not people's instinct. They're looking for in-print things at the library. That is the feedback we've received over the years. So again, I don't think this information is that helpful to you, but that is, we internally update multiple sources of information for our calendar.
Well, I think the going in assumption was that you guys are going to continue to have your own website because of the special functionality you need.
But as part of a marketing thing for the library, I think we would also try to capitalize on any additional opportunity that could be presented, right? So if you guys had like a town-wide calendar, I would want me or a designated staff member to contribute to that if it was at all possible. It's just, I can tell you on our workflow, and it's hard just to update what we have at this point.
Yeah, the hypothesis is that the Newtown website will have basically a unified calendar view, but with multiple categories. And each category can be administered by different individuals, and the categories can also be pulled from other calendars, so that it basically can receive it. The library can have 5 different categories on the main town calendar, and each of those could be simply a feed, an automatic feed from the existing library calendar, so that the library staff don't have to update in both locations. It's just automatically fed and it sucks it in. It's just another way of displaying it should somebody go to the main website. So, Joe, it sounds like you don't have another comment. Okay.
No, it was just, yes, humans should be updating minimal number of places, ICS feeds. This is a solved problem.
It was solved like 20 years ago. Yeah.
Well, I understand it's a solved problem. I guess, though, what is our intent or what is our goal here is, are we looking for a truly combined calendar? And so we're going to have to go to many different groups like the library and talk to them about maintaining that, right?
Our goal is to make it as simple as possible for users, which includes, and as Wanbing is presented here, be nice to have a single location with multiple categories that users can select what they're interested in. So yes, we would go to the different groups that are maintaining their respective calendars and ask them how they want to participate in the calendar, whether they want to have their own category that they would manually update on the main website, or if they have an existing calendar on Facebook or on Rec or on the library software we use, where it can pull an ICS feed or other feed, iCal, whatever tech is, to pull an automatic feed over. It's left up to them how they want to supply it.
So just to put it into an analogy, we're going to be leading horses to water, but we have absolutely no responsibility for seeing that they don't die of thirst. Right.
Our goal is to invite and provide as many carrots as possible. We can't force people away from their Facebook pages. This is a collaborative effort. I think we all, including us and other committees, have some common goals and common mutual interests in helping citizens engage more with Southborough and having citizens have a better experience. So we try to build off that common goal.
I agree with that. I guess, what I'd like to understand is how many different groups are we going to be helping? How long is it going to take to help each group? Who's going to be on the hook for actually do those help sessions? If they decide not to, that's true. But, let's make sure we understand what this effort is to actually help them use this new technology. It's not just here's the new technology and we walk away, right?
Absolutely. Okay. And we're not going to be able to get, before we implement it, we're not going to answer all of these questions. We need to do this step by step, and we have years and years and years of user experience debt that we need to slowly solve, and it's not going to happen overnight. So here I love Wanbing's comment. Let's focus on what's the most used functionality, and so let's hyper focus on that, improve that, and then we'll go down to the slightly less used functionality and optimize for that. And I think in our budget recommendations with Jay, that we should include in the budget one of the user journey maps, web analytics tools, so we can on a real time monitor how users are actively using the website and what are the end services that they're trying to engage with. If we find that it takes 10 clicks for the majority of people to get to what they want to, and it's a common feature, maybe we pull that up on the main website and make it more efficient. So all I'm saying is,
but just to be clear, when you say we should do this and we should do that, who's the we, and where's the plan for the we and what they're going to do?
This is a volunteer basis, Will.
No, I understand, but yeah, okay, volunteer basis, that's fine, but we still need a plan as to what we need the volunteers to do, correct?
Okay, so that's a great question, Will. What are we going to do? So we have limited humans here. I'm really struggling to understand what is the basis behind. We don't have a solution. We don't have 10 headcount to a website management department. And so all we have to do is our existing resources, and we just have carrots to and training. That's better than Facebook. Facebook doesn't have training. So this is certainly better. What we're moving for is better than we were yesterday, and what we're moving towards will be better. So I don't know, Angela, do you have a comment?
Yeah, the vendor does offer an implementation plan. And I mean, they've helped other customers do this. So I think part of the service that they're offering, that's part of the quote that we paid for, is, you know, they kind of help us through this process. They help us plan it out. They help us understand all the steps that we need to take. And then they'll work with, you know, Jay and us, you know, and, you know, obviously, hopefully we can help and we can be supportive of all of that. But I do think that the vendor does play a large role here in helping us understand what needs to be done and helping us through that process.
Sounds fine. All I would say is that, you know, let's be a little bit more realistic about exactly what we are going to get done, rather than just saying, well, we could do this and we could do that. That's it.
Yeah, it's definitely a piece of work. So we'll have to be very supportive of Jay as he goes forward and as he's working with the vendor to make sure that, you know, the departments and the committees are hearing from us as well, that like, hey, the town's invested in this, you know, you guys need to take it seriously. We really need to all be supportive here. So I do think there's probably some, you know, political greasing of the wheels that we might, you know, be able to help with.
Yeah. Okay. Wenbing, do you want to continue? Unless there's other questions on this particular page.
Yeah, I think you already covered a lot of this. There are currently a lot of excessive and broken hotkeys on the calendar. By hotkey, I mean this clickable thing. You actually click on it and it leads to a place that completely doesn't make sense. You have to go through like 4 steps. First, go to all meetings, navigate away from the month, and then to the like a week view or something in order to see what you want to see. So yeah, but hopefully this does not, like, we don't have to fix everything on the new version, because we are starting at a brand new place, and hopefully this doesn't exist. But currently it is a nightmare having to navigate through that. We should partner up with the blog person and sync their information to the website. Yeah, we talked about that. May not be possible, but if we keep our information up to date, that would be a lot of, you know, a big improvement. People would like a suggest an event function so that I can require a meeting event to be added. Community and social activities are more important to residents and thus should be highlighted. Yeah, just some extra opinions there. So virtual meeting function. 4 big group of suggestions here. I'm talking about this, you know, drop-down menu called virtual meeting on the front page. So first, the information organization is confusing. One has to click on the virtual meeting header in order to see the meeting links. So you do have to click on this place in order to see, you know, the list of future meetings. But if someone just go down, click on one of these items in the drop-down menus, none of them lead them to the correct place. So that's definitely something that has to be fixed. Yeah, we need a future meeting tab for that. And also YouTube videos should be better organized based on the time and boards and should have consistent naming scheme. Next big theme is instruction not clear. When the meeting is live on YouTube, some people just don't know how to join, whether they should join through Zoom or through YouTube. And they also don't know whether they're allowed to just drop in the meeting instructions on the website. It has words like if indicated or if applicable, you can join, which isn't very helpful. And information is not complete. All material and links to recordings should be attached to the agenda and minutes, which is not always the case now. The website should prompt user to do that. I think this piece of information is coming from the town clerk, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the links to recordings has to be there, but it's only, yeah, it's just not every meeting has that, and he was like, if the website has a, required start place to have people input this piece of information, that would be helpful. And
that's
also,
Jim saying that he's not getting that information consistently from all the groups. Is that what you're saying? So
yeah, it's either
okay.
Jim or town clerk.
Jim is the town clerk. Yeah.
Okay, because there is I think two people starting with like first name starting with J. I forgot whose opinion was this, but yeah, he is in charge of posting all the materials and links of meeting to the website, and we often see that the recording is not available.
So just, I mean, this is not I guess a comment I would have to this, and it has to do with YouTube. I don't want to be like defending this because this is not the platform for this, but it's almost like I have to kind of just say this part. YouTube has been making things a little bit difficult for me recently. They've been changing their search items. They've been changing how you look at live versus uploaded versus past dates, and they've changed it literally 3 times in the last, I feel like 8 months, where I would just tell people, hey, go here to live views. It's not there no more. It's like an actual tab you got to click on to go to live views. I don't, let's just put it this way, I'm not purposely making it confusing for people. And at the end of the day,
for sure,
the comments that I'm hearing, it's me that's posting those videos. So it's like, I'm trying my best to make it as easy as possible. So YouTube is making my life difficult every other week, I feel like. Because at the end of the day, I'm not looking for clicks. I'm not looking for likes, and you know what I mean? That's not, so YouTube does that where it makes it so that, you can see the video first and click on the like, and so you're getting the likes and the subscribes and the thumbs ups and all of that. And that's not my purpose. So they keep on changing it due to what it's really used for currently. And as far as like titles go, we title the like this, even with this particular meeting that we're in right now, we just name them on Zoom. And when we name them on Zoom, they just post to YouTube the way we named them on Zoom. Is there, should we come up with some type of method of making sure it's consistent? Probably so. But sometimes it's like a quick, hey, we got to quick, create this meeting, and it's got to be up there quick. And then the next thing we're just typing in CPC and not community preservation, or, something to that effect. So there are some things that we could definitely work on better as far as naming conventions. But as far as like what YouTube is doing online, I have no control of what they're doing recently.
Yeah. So Jason, we appreciate your efforts and fully recognize that you have very limited, the technology, and YouTube is out of our hands and it's limited in what you can do. And even the current website is limiting, and it's yet to be seen what the new website software is. So yeah, just keep all of these are nice to have if it's possible, technology permitting, etc. But that does make me think maybe we should append to every video we post to YouTube a little snippet of you saying, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, right. I thought about that recently. Jokingly, I was like, I'm going to stop putting that up there. Because I feel like that's the only way really going to get those likes. Especially with those 4-hour select board meetings.
Oh, yeah. People will love those, yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, just like what Matt said, these are just, suggestions. You can, I totally understand some of those are doable, some are not doable. We're not in full control of everything. I believe people give me these suggestions based on the assumption that we can easily change the title of our recording on YouTube at will, which is sounds like it's not the case. One thing it just came to mind is, do you think it would be helpful to organize them into like groups and folders? I know for some YouTubers, they have like TV shows, like this TV show, next TV show, like they have different folders and each contain like 20 something video. That may be helpful, like just give different folder to different committee. If like YouTube
Playlist.
keeps changing. Play there. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I get what I understand what you're saying, and it would take work to do.
I'm sure.
I'm away from something else to do something else. So, but no, it is possible. I have seen it on YouTube. You can create, subfolders for different things. But then it comes back to the fact that I do that, and then someone's like, I can't find that meeting no more, right? So then it's back to, where did that meeting go? How do I get to it? So I'm hoping again that a lot of these things that we're even talking about now will be better capabilities of putting that out there on the new website. Again, it's just I got to see how that's going to play out when we get to that point.
I did just look it up on MassGov too, because my understanding is that the virtual meeting order was extended until the end of March 2023, and it doesn't look like there's been any update. So I think unless the legislature extends that, because that was under an emergency order during COVID that started in 2020, this all may be moot, Jay. We may not be doing virtual meetings in April if the legislature decides to change that. So maybe YouTube is something you won't have to worry about.
I could only wish. My only rebuttal to that is, unfortunately, a lot of people have found this very comfortable. Yeah, exactly, right. So I'm sure there's someone sitting in one of those seats up there in the House that are saying, I think we should extend this permanently. And not only to them, I'm sure that there's a lot more residents now that are watching. And I don't, maybe not in this town possibly, but I know in the city of Woonsocket, they have them all live on YouTube, and a lot more people are paying attention to what's going on in our city. So I think that just that alone is going to be a reason for them to want to keep it going. But believe me, Ryan, I wish it was the opposite, with the amount of stuff we go through and, just doing all these videos and the owl and the issues we've had with the owl and audio. And believe me, there's a lot of reasons why I wish it was not the case.
I think we'll just have to watch it, because there was a period where we had to do in-person meetings over a summer, and then we had to switch back. So yeah. I mean, and then I remember, back before you were here, Jay, Access Media used to record meetings with an actual camera, and they used to try to broadcast them live on YouTube too. So I mean, YouTube has been a headache for a while, but it's just, I would assume our new governor is going to extend the order, but we don't know, and we don't know when, right? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one last point is just our old friend Sam. Some video are only available there, and people don't check it at all. It's good to have them all in one place, which is YouTube. And that concludes all the major suggestions I heard for the virtual meeting function. And here is just some suggestions for the Civic Plus package, which I just showed you. Probably won't go over it one by one. Backend editing suggestions and suggestions about training. Don't know if you have seen this before, but people want Q&A time. All backend editors should do it, and every committee board should be able to edit their own site, which is very important to keep content recent. And we should record training so that people can watch it later. Not sure if this is allowed by Civic Plus, especially new people that come on board in the future, will be helpful to them. And we might be interested in being part of the, who might be interested in being part of the training: IT director, town clerk, select board members, chair of each board and committee. Need to learn how to add new page and change current content.
Question about the first item there, the Q&A. What was that referring to? Is that question and answers about?
Yeah, so I forgot who raised this point up, but she seemed to be talking about because we have limited time in the training session, there is no real Q&A time at the end. So they might have some question, but didn't get a chance to raise it to the Civic Plus trainer.
Is this, I wonder about that, because we haven't had any Civic Plus training because we haven't yet migrated to the new website.
Okay.
Maybe she's anticipating not having Q&A. I don't know, but
Yeah,
It might have been feedback based on previous trainings for town employees where we get a presentation on something, but we don't have time to follow up. Also, sometimes we're being shown the platform before we have a chance to actually interact with it. So questions, I think, naturally come up as a result of working with the system. That's the only thing I can think of, is that maybe there was somebody who tried to, it wasn't me, but it could have been somebody else who, this was all pre-J. I would just like to point out too, this is like for a long time ago when we were doing other platforms, including when I think the town first went to the Drupal website, is that a lot of people had no experience using Drupal and then had to learn as they go, right? So maybe if there were like follow-up trainings that were scheduled, or at least an opportunity to talk with the vendor on specific questions, that might be helpful for employees.
Thank you for that, Ron.
And I just jotted down some suggestions for specific committees, such as the taxation committee, but I understand that's out of the scope of this meeting, so I just leave it there. Again, I'll send this information, the raw data, all to Matt. If you need to refer back to it in the future, information is all there.
and I'll include it in our meeting notes. This is a public meeting, so we'll include it in our posting. So, yeah. Any other questions for Wanbing?
I don't have so much a question. First of all, thank you very much for doing this. I do appreciate it on my end as well. I know everybody here does as well. The only thing I'll say, and it's not even a comment towards you, it's more a comment in general, is I'm slightly disappointed in the amount of feedback we got. Right. So there's 10,000 residents in the town of Southborough, if not plus minus something like that. 7. Right. So it's frustrating to not have heard more feedback, because there might be more areas that we're not knowing about, or maybe less people are complaining about the things that the least are complaining about. Maybe I'm saying that wrong, but it's like maybe that small group has so much to say, but then the other 9,000, you know what I mean, are like, or 10,000 are like, yeah, well, I was able to get there this way, or I was able to get there that way. So it's kind of frustrating in a sense. I was hoping for more, even if it was 100, right? I would have been like, okay, at least 100 people out of 10,000 gave us some type of feedback. And believe me, that is nothing to your work. It was a great job. It was great work. And I appreciate your time. It's just frustrating that not a lot more people were able to contribute to this. And that was what I was really hoping, was to get a lot more feedback.
We did get some more on the town survey. So we did ask specifically about the website on the town survey. And I think we got a lot of feedback from citizens on that. And I think I would consider this more of the drill down to try to understand some of those core pieces of feedback, because it really resonates and connected. So we heard a lot of the same feedback in the survey. And then I think by doing the in-person interviews, we were able to get some more context around some of those points.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I would start by saying that, for a specific product and for a specific persona, the number we shoot for is usually 5. So with, open-ended, moderated interview like this, 5 is usually a pretty good number. And after 5, you usually see a saturation of opinions, which means that you get more people, but they keep mentioning about the same thing. So if you want to reach, excuse me, a larger, a wider audience, a survey is definitely, like Angela said, a more suitable approach. And it's also like after this round of interview, for example, if you are still wondering about a more, for example, these 7 people say I have this problem, and you want to validate that in a broader audience, you can always construct a survey and distribute it to more people and see if that applies to a broader audience as well. So I guess user research is a combination of many steps. It's not only user interview. So I guess after this round of work, if other volunteers or any one of you want to drill down further into any of these issues, this is the ground that you can work from.
I do think it could be interesting and helpful to us as we're putting together the new site to actually, when we get into more of the testing part and the UI UX testing in particular, you know, take somebody who's extremely non-technically literate, you know, have them try to use the website. Can they navigate it? Can they click through it? You know, so there's probably some things that we could add into the implementation plan that might give us some further feedback from those who just, you know, aren't as familiar with the website or using it, and just see if it actually works for them as well.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I think for a website that is, you know, as old as this, I probably will, especially your like facing a time frame here that you have to make a decision about the package before Christmas. So I think this will come earlier than we are able to collect more information from, you know, every persona. If in the new website, after information is all updated and, you know, look pretty, it's more like easier to use, then we can present it to you know, people who are less tech savvy, who are older, who are younger. Like the youngest participant we are having is, you know, have the age of 48, which is not all that young. So yeah, I think it will be, like from my own perspective, it will be better to like make this big change first, because we already know, you know, these are the big regions that need improvement, and after that we bring it to test with a broader population.
And that is a good thought on, we don't have to obviously think about tonight, but as we're designing the 2023 town survey, what additional questions do we want to drill in on that could help advise us on, you know, the implementation, if any, you know, but we can think about that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you all for listening. I know this is a lot of information and very long presentation.
Thank you so much, Wanbing, for all of your work on this. It's greatly appreciated, and this will definitely be used as we work with the vendor for implementing it, and give us some, you know, identifying key pain points and possible solutions to it. So yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Glad it helps. And I do have, you know, the recording of, I think, 5 out of 7, the recording for the interviews. Do you want me to throw them in a Google Doc, like a Google Drive?
Maybe for
and share
archival purposes, yeah, we don't have to share those. The summary analysis that you presented here is what's most important. So
okay, because I also have a Excel sheet of more detailed, like points raised, like every points raised by people with a timestamp, and that's related to the recording. If you don't need them, I don't need to send it to them. But if you,
I'll be in touch with you afterwards about the closure of the project and so forth. So, but thank you.
No problem. Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll let you go, Wanbing. But thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, let's move on in the agenda. We've covered the next agenda item, which is the town website upgrade. Just so I'm fully understanding, we've pulled the trigger already on that, Jay, right? We signed before the end of the year. What is the anticipated timeline?
It's a 6-month project. I have my first meeting with them. Well, I had a kickoff meeting recently. I sent you guys an email on this recently. I had a kickoff meeting with them recently, and I have another meeting coming up on February 10th. Between that time and February 10th, I've already sent out you know, messages to people internally to try to get a group together so we can start talking about different items. And then they're going to start showing me what deliverables they're expecting from me and what deliverables I should be expecting from them. And you know, what timeframes are going to be talking to certain people, and even like the consultant that they have internally to kind of communicate, you know, what our end goal is for the website and stuff. They'll give me dates on that going forward. The one on the 10th is more of a deliverables meeting, and then Once I know more, again, I'll start divulging more information to you guys. If I'm going to see I'm going to reach out to my project manager and figure out what type of meeting the 10th one is. And if it's something that I feel, it's going to be like, I can incorporate a lot more people into it. I'll see if I can get one of you involved in that meeting as well. I want to keep you guys as close to this one, especially because I want to get the input, as I said, from one of you as far as what has come from this survey as well, and input as we go along with it.
That's good.
So just one quick question. So we've already spent this money then?
Yeah, it's one of those types of payments where like a certain amount is due up front, and then when the project is done, the remainder is handed in. So I've already handed in a portion of that.
How much more a year is this going to cost the town?
I put that all in the packet the last time. I believe it is an annual fee. I feel like it was like 7,000.
If it's in the packet, just send me the packet. I wasn't at the last meeting, unfortunately.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll get that to you, William.
Okay.
The initial funding is coming from ARPA to do the larger project. We did come in under our original ARPA ask, so we're not spending as much as we had originally estimated. And we had conversations with both Sam and Kathy Cook, and they said to do the initial project, get it going. And then if we do run into any issues or concerns about needing extra modules or things like that, that we should come back as quickly as we can to request any additional funding if that's required, because that's still going to come out of the ARPA funding. I think you were asking about the ongoing ops cost, Will, which Jay mentioned is the $7K.
Yeah, I'm just curious. What do you remember what meeting this was voted on by the board?
Right before the end of the year.
Yeah, right before, literally it was like the last, I believe it was like the last select board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
December. Yep.
So Angela, that does bring up a good point. We probably should quickly review the modules and check with Jim to see if he's interested in that Civic Plus. I had a discussion with Jim about Civic Plus. Sorry, the Civic Clerk. I guess that's the name of the module.
Yeah.
And I think he was going to reach out to some of the other towns that were using it. I pointed him to a couple to see.
He's just frustrated with it right now. Currently,
what's that?
He's a little frustrated with all of that right now, with all of the Civic Clerk and how it's used, and he's been trying to go a different route with how he just doesn't like it. There's just something about it he does not like. So,
and you're referring to the new Civic Clerk module.
And that's the thing is, I don't even know if I think he's so caught up on how it has been.
Oh, how bad it's been, yeah.
Yeah. So that he's like, I want nothing to do with it. And I'm like,
he wants anything as long as it doesn't have their logo on it. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So he's gonna, and I've seen what he's been talking about, and it is a little frustrating. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can win him over the next year or so to come back to the dark.
Could be worth just having them give him a demo of the new module, and then just see. I mean, is it really that improved from what he's experienced with, or is it not? And then he could probably give us a quick answer. But I don't think without sitting through a short demo, he's probably going to be able to separate his past experience from what they might be able to offer now.
Yeah.
Good point. So related to that, when there does come up with meetings and so forth where Jay's sort of forming this group, who do we want to have on our group represent the MTC? Initially, I was thinking Angela, because you've been so involved. Is that something you'd be willing to do?
Yeah.
Would that be okay with everybody? Angela sort of serves as the rep for these out-of-band meetings. Now, of course, we'll still discuss it in our MTC meetings, but okay, great. Thanks, Angela.
Just one thing. I mean, it sounds like, as Jay mentioned, there are things or deliverables that will be due from the town. Is that all going to come out of your department, Jay?
What do you mean? Well, because there's other things that are going to incorporate other people but there are certain deliverables that would just come directly from me. But then there would be deliverables that will, going to come from other people as well, from other members.
And who's going to oversee those, getting that make sure that happens? You?
Me? Yeah. And then the project manager that's involved has a set of all the deliverables that are needed, and then we have to go through that list and make sure we get that information in.
Who is the project manager?
Her name is last name is Holly Brown.
Is she an employee or
an employee with
Civic Plus?
Civic Plus. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. And Town Tech status updates. I was hoping that Ryan O'Leary would be able to join us today and discuss their latest issues, but let's talk about Town Tech. New servers. How are the new servers going? Are they fully implemented now? Are we fully up and running?
They are fully implemented. The only issue, not even an issue, the only servers, the virtual servers that are not on the new system all pertain to public safety. And it's mainly just been an issue with getting them to say, okay, shut it down, and it being down, because I would say out of the 4 servers that I need to migrate over, 2 of them have significant size hard drives, and the other 2 are not as bad. So the other 2 would probably migrate in an hour or so. It's the other 2 I'm concerned about, because one of them is like their main purpose between police and fire, and how they put in reports and everything like that. So they would be down for like probably 6 to 8 hours, and that's the problem that I'm fighting with them. Not fighting, and I would lose anyway. But just going, we're trying to figure out a day that we can do it, whether it's a Saturday, whether it's a Monday, whether it's a Friday. And I've just been talking with both the chiefs right now, Red, and we will figure that out.
You just need to tell them not to schedule any emergencies during that time, and we'll be fine.
That's the problem. No 911 calls between
exactly.
this time.
Just tell the residents too. No emergencies at that time. We'll be fine.
The whole town will be fine. Just those 8 hours. So that's the thing I'm dealing with right now, and I'm hoping soon I get an answer to that. But as far as everything else goes, any other server that I have has been migrated over, tested. IP ranges have been changed to be more not the 192 schema that was on some of the servers. I've now migrated them all to the same IP schema. So yeah, a lot of things are happening and happening fast and happening good. Knock on wood. So, but it's been going good so far.
Awesome, wonderful news. Thanks for all your effort on that and work on that. I think we're already breathing a sigh of relief getting onto this more redundant servers, etc. So yeah. So related to that, network architect. I guess the question to both you and Joe about network architecture review and any updates on the second ISP discussion and so forth.
Well, the network architecture review, we hadn't been able to schedule something in depth, and Jason, I if the time allows, I know he's your employee, but if it would be useful to do it as an exploratory session with Hassan, like I talked about with you, Matt, before, that way, if on the one hand, if there's any documentation lacking, he would come up to speed by having to develop it or ferret it out himself. And on the other hand, we could both do the journey of discovery together to ask some questions. If you're amenable to that, then if you could share some scheduling things, because you and I haven't been able to schedule anything beyond like the budget meeting that we had with Angela.
Yeah. I would like to have him involved as well as possible, but I would say it would unfortunately and fortunately have to be me to really be involved with it, only because I would say I would obviously know more about what's going on than asking Hassan at this point. But also Hassan is very much discovery phase on a lot of the things. So this would be, if we can meet together type of thing and discuss a lot of these things, it would be a learning phase for him as well, as far as like what things he has not touched yet, in a sense.
Then may I ask, since we're kind of based on your last item, since we're kind of over the hump with the major bulk of the server role, could I obviously not do it here live, but could we commit to a discussion about something maybe by the end of the month? Or if your calendar doesn't permit that, then maybe
that's what I was just
February.
Yeah.
But
No,
you and I should just sync. If I send you some
offline
suggested dates after this meeting, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say, and again, without pointing out dates, but between the 27th to even all the way up to the I believe the 6th of the following month might be, some time in between there that we can pin something up.
I'll send you a swath of dates.
Okay.
Thanks both. Thank you both for discussing that. Next item, Assess Pro 5.0. And just want to, again, this is low priority, but when you have a chance, Jay, I'd love to, if you can get a copy of the requirements stock, or basically the underlying, versions of Windows, hard drive, IOPS, CPU, memory requirements, and then likewise, I'll find some time with you, Jay, to sit down and discuss. If we can just deploy that on a virtual machine in the cloud. Joe, you have a comment?
Just on the secondary ISP, there had been some progress. Jason and I had discussed some options, and I believe, Jason, you did have some further discussions with provider. Don't know if you want to speak in detail here, or if you just want to give a high level.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Comcast, their business entity, I would say, more high level business entity. And some of the things that they came up with, even, in that conversation, I think from what I heard, they don't technically have their fiber that would come through the town, but they can provide a fiber connection for the town with another third party. And then it always becomes an issue with, SLA and the pricing going up because of SLA. And that's essentially the issue we have currently with our current vendor. The prices just go up, and I can, in my mind, I can justify the reasons why we should have something like that. But maybe the taxpayers don't agree. So, because, it's obviously going to impact my budget significantly. And if any of you, which I'm positive in this room, have seen some of the agreements you can get with these, fiber providers, they can be upwards of, $1,200 a month and up. And that's what I've been seeing everywhere. And do we need it? Yeah, we do have public safety that is very important. It needs to be up all the time. Can it be justified? That's the thing. Someone could easily say, well, internet's always up and I never have a problem. I'm not sure what your problem is. But maybe having a fighting chance with the MTC to fight for that could be, something that we could, combine our knowledge together and come up with some kind of document to fight for that. But Comcast was that one place so far that I'm really talking to, and all the other places are very low level, don't necessarily have good fiber coming through. They would have to put up fiber in order for them to actually come into the town in some way or form. So it keeps me with two options: either deal with Comcast and deal with Verizon, and those would be my two options. Or, if there are other options that I haven't already looked at, by all means, I'm open ears.
One of the, so just a few ideas, and we don't have to make any decision, obviously, or recommendations is up to you. But on the secondary line, do we need an SLA? If it is an active failover, where the active is, we have an SLA on the active one, hopefully, and it gives us a certain amount of bandwidth, et cetera. And the reason why we have a backup where the failover is for the 0.5% or 0.1% of the time when the active isn't up. And I don't know if we have uptime statistics on our current line, but it's for the extremely rare cases that it isn't up. then would it be okay not having SLA for that coverage of time that is not our active is not up? And it's true. I mean, like, I think most of us with home internet connections, we don't have SLAs with them, but we get by fairly good, and it's reasonable. So, so that's one thing to consider. Another thing to consider, somebody in town suggested, do we want to consider, was it Starlink as the backup?
Yeah, they currently don't have Muni packages, but they do have something for pitched for RVs. I'm not sure if they allow commercial licensing for it, but it allows you to subscribe and then suspend the service, so you don't always have to pay. So that if we actually want to go down that road, we might, and there aren't any legal encumbrance, that might be an option.
Question: how quickly can you reinstate the subscription? Because obviously, if it's the ideal world, what we don't want this is to take up more of Jay's time, and hopefully the active failover is like automatic and doesn't take any Jay time or being on call, etc. And so,
the what you were talking about with the SLA is not necessarily something that's in place currently, and that was my predecessor's implementation. I have no disagreement with it. It goes back to the fact that internet is typically up, right? And with Fios, it's typically up all the time. There's never really been too many issues. And I have approached Verizon about an agreement in that fashion. And as I said before, the price just through the roof. So even with Verizon, I think their base was like $1,300 for 500 megs. And I was like, whoa.
What are we currently paying for Verizon?
But we get a gig for $245, close to 300 and change. Yeah. And there's no, it's just their business platform of without the SLAs, right? So it's again, knock on wood, it's
so
usually
maybe an active failover, and neither of one have SLAs, but we know that if we're not getting, that's the whole point of RAID.
Yeah.
Your cheap disk, we know going to fail, and worst case is we fail over to another one, but
yeah. Again, and it's it's. I always especially now with the way things are. Granted, again, we need redundancy in place, but at the end of the day, if both, let's say, as an example, a Comcast and a Verizon are down, I guarantee there's a meteor about to hit us and we're all going to die anyway. So, I mean, the chances are slim for everybody to be down at the end of the day. It's something major catastrophe must be happening and we're all down. And the last thing we're worried about is the internet connection. We're huddling our families together, and that's about it. So, maybe it is. We just say, hey, Comcast, we want this. We don't care about the other parts of it. Let's just get this. If you guys can get me this piece in place, and at least we have a redundancy piece set up, and we just keep what we're doing with Fios, and at least now we have the redundancy in place. I'll like as an example today. I was in the beginning of this meeting. I was talking to Angela about the day that happened today. Fios was having an issue with Microsoft, and Microsoft was having an issue with Fios. Anything that was a Microsoft Azure product was down through Fios.
Like, this is like routing between Verizon's network and Microsoft's network.
Yeah. Wow, like down. Like you could not access Office 365 no matter where you were. If you had Fios, you were not accessing Office 365. And it came down to even websites. So if there was a website out there that was running off of Microsoft's Azure cloud-based solution, they were down. You couldn't access any. LinkedIn was down. We couldn't access, if you wanted to access LinkedIn, that was down. Anything in Office 365, the admin console. I know that it affected some of the chair of the select board because she reached out to me saying she couldn't reach her stuff. And if I knew anything about it. So yeah, that would have been a perfect ideal point to, hey, what about if I switched to Comcast? Will everything come back, right? And then everything came back. And I didn't, you know what I mean? So that would have been an ideal opportunity to say, okay, boom, flip that switch. oh wow, everything's working. It is isolated to files. You know what I mean? Then I can switch back when I knew things were back in normal. But that was going on throughout the entire day, you know. So it's good to have that peace of mind at the end of the day that I can swap through, or if something does go down, I can at least have something come up immediately.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that sounds great. If you can get pricing on the just you know, non-SLA of Comcast, I think that
Yeah.
that would alleviate pretty much almost all of our concerns. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We're running out of time, and I think agenda items too, which is good. Are there any additional questions? I know, Jay, you weren't able to join us in our December meeting when we were discussing or reviewing the budget. I know you had a separate meeting to sit down, a couple of people to review the budget. Were there any sort of lingering questions on the proposed fiscal year 24 budget that we need to review?
The only thing that I think we had talked about in the last meeting where I wasn't sure where we landed is, you know, there was this big security report that was run. There was a lot of feedback that, Jay, you were given by the external security audit. And I know that when you and I spoke, there is some money in the budget to address some of those, you know, security holes that we want to make sure get taken care of. What in your mind are the next steps? Like, do you see kind of going before the select board and saying, you know, here's the 5 big things that came out of that report, and here's what we plan to take on in 2023, and get a sense from them about the business risk that they want to make sure we're addressing, like how far into that report they want to see us go, or what's your take on next steps there?
So the only thing I'll ask, Angela, is do you mean the NIST cybersecurity one, or the pen test that we did?
I believe it was the NIST one, the one that we talked about right before the holidays.
Okay. And I've had some of this conversation with Matt as well, as far as approaches. And if you know, one option I have available to me, if I can do, I am trying to approach you know, both the select board and advisory and all of them about having an MSP involved with the town. And with that MSP looking to see if there's options for even them providing, you know, policies, procedures, things that I'm lacking in town to you know, to assist in that sense. And then if not, which I you know, I would assume that I don't want to assume, but I would hope that there's going to be some type of, you know, go Jay, let's get that done. That sounds like a great idea, because at least that gives me that resource. But then it would just, you know, it would fall back to me and reaching out to you guys as far as putting some of these policies and procedures together over the next couple of years. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not going to be a flip of a switch, because there's quite a few of them that we need to have in place. And Matt has offered his assistance to me as well. And again, if we get to that point, that I definitely want to start utilizing the resources here to do that. Let's do that. But I'm hoping at least in that time frame, I can reach out to somebody and get that part of the package of assisting the town with.
Yeah, let us know if there's anything that we could do to help there. I mean, I just, you know, I don't know if there's like a red flag that goes up in the back of my mind that says if we did have a security issue, and then people came to us and said, oh, you knew about this, you knew that this was a potential. And, you know, we were like, well, yeah, we kind of did know that it could happen. I mean, that, you know, that would not be ideal. So if there's, you know, any kind of conversations you need us to have to make sure that you're getting the resources and support that you need, you know, just please let us know.
Yeah. And you know, the good thing is too, is a lot of the items that were called out in this had a lot to do with policies and procedures. Not necessarily, oh, you have a hole here and you don't have this thing in place in that place, you know, something's not being monitored here. You know, a lot of it was like, well, where's your policy and procedure for backup and recovery? You know, yeah, I know it. Where is it? Right? You know, what's your policy and procedure for offboarding? Yeah, I know it, but where is it? Right. And that's the things, those are the things that we really need to get in place here. And a lot of that onboarding, offboarding stuff just needs to kind of be, you know, an internal conversation with a lot of the members that pull the triggers on hiring people and figuring out what we need to do better. but that's just an, a side example. But the good news is it's not like there's an open hole here. We need to get that covered today.
Right.
What are you doing? And even with our pen testing that I did recently, came back actually good. It wasn't as bad as there was a few machines like printers that are on default passwords that we need to change that we actually have been changing and are like 90% done. But like silly things like that, SNMP is turned on here, it should be turned on, or why is this listening to that, and things like that we actually internally, Hassan and I have created like a corrective action list and try to bang out as many of the low hanging fruit as we can, and just working our way through the list. But it made me feel good to see that they weren't easily able to pen from the outside, and internally what things were open, we were easily enough to be covered and closed in the way of a password or turning something on.
That's great. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, let's skip back. Anything on the mobile network coverage holes, cellular deserts? Any updates on that, Angela?
Yeah, when we started talking last time about, the problems that we ran into getting traction with the telecom providers. So we said, let's take it a different way and let's kind of put together maybe more of an informational guide. So I've started putting that together. I should have it for the February meeting, and it's basically going to be advice to folks that might be struggling with this issue about the types of things that they could do, so that they are able to open a service ticket. We'll inform them about the different options that they could do to boost their signals locally, and then try to work with some of the impacted residents to see if those things are helpful. I still keep hoping that we can make some more traction on this, but it's been a lasting issue for a long time, and there's a reason it's been a lasting issue for a long time, is because it's not just a quick fix.
Okay. Is there anything we can do to support? Anything we can do to support?
No, I just think once I send out the document, obviously, having people read it and give feedback and share their thoughts on it would be very helpful.
And for my notes, what is the specific document?
Sorry?
For my notes of the meeting, what's the document that you're going to be sending out?
Oh, just the Citizens Guide to improve their local Wi-Fi or their individual Wi-Fi. It'll be similar to the brochure that we created, just with different information.
Okay. And it's about improving Wi-Fi within their homes and enabling Wi-Fi calling on their phones. Okay, awesome. Okay, any questions from anybody about that subject? All right, if not, move on. Electronic transfer permit validation system for the transfer station. I was somewhat disheartened after our last meeting where we discussed, well, there's a lot of, not in our last meeting, it's just the previous, end of Q4 where we were on this, because I think there's some resistance towards using license plate readers in town. When I discussed this with the police chief, he said he commonly receives records requests or information requests saying, does the town have any license plate readers in town? Because I think there's some citizens that are concerned about privacy, etc. And so even the police chief would be concerned about having this, because as of today, the town does not have any license plate readers. And so the chief police.
Is FastPass the same thing as a license plate reader? Why couldn't they?
It is.
It
is not operated by the town.
Okay.
So I don't know if people are highly concerned about their privacy, if they just avoid the pike, or yeah. So yeah, FastPass definitely reads both for every time you go under it, it'll of course read your RFID thing, but it also reads your front and back plates. But he's enjoyed, the chief of police has enjoyed the comfort of being able to tell our residents, no, we don't have anything, nothing to see here. No, let's not go up in arms against the police. Anyway, But Chief of Police did say he'd be interested, he'd be open to considering it, especially if other towns have implemented it. Um, and um, on a good note, in December, towards the end of December, a different company, not the company I had engaged with, but a different company had started reaching out to towns and said that some of our public works money, I guess there's a public works stipend, we get certain credits from the state, and that their system is approved by the state of Massachusetts, and our we our basically any credits we've earned for the state could be used towards it. And it is a license plate reader system. And it's not just a license plate reader system, but it's also associated web software, a web service, to collect fees for the permits. And it keeps track of all the self-service registration, and it feeds it to the system that does the reading. In this case, there's the first system I looked at, the previous system I looked at, they didn't have a associated self-service registration or fees collection system. So all it was is some reader software, a service that ran in the cloud, a power over Ethernet camera that would read people's license plates, and we could add an exception, exceptions list, or here are the people who are validated, and then everybody else we would have to deal with on an exceptions basis. And we probably would still have to have the same non-self-service registration process as before. All the software in that previous system ran in the cloud. The camera spoke directly to the cloud. There are no on-site hardware apart from the camera or services. This new system does have a cloud component, but the actual license plate recognition happens on-site in a PC that would presumably be located at Public Works. So basically, all the recognition stuff never egresses Southborough's infrastructure, but we wouldn't have to maintain another PC. There are other towns in Massachusetts that are using this, and I asked him about how to handle exceptions. So what if, like, a landscaper who doesn't have a permit, they drive into the Public Works? What happens? Can we somehow send them a bill based on their license plate? And so far, it seems like the normal use case is their software will typically just send an alert to somebody, like a Public Works staffer, to say, somebody just drove onto the lot, their license plate is this, and they don't have a permit. And so it's basically, it assists Public Works employees in identifying non-approved license plates. So I'll just say, long story short, I'm gonna look into more information about the system, and collect, figure out how much it's gonna cost, and then we can discuss it at our next meeting. I know we're out of time
Who
now.
owns the data that's collected?
It's all Southborough.
You're absolutely sure of that?
Yeah, we on servers. It's all on local servers, and yeah, it's.
But if there is a cloud component, something's flowing through the cloud.
There is a cloud component for the registration. Yes, yeah. I will ask them for their contract and find out, make sure they have clauses for ownership. And I also find out, I think they refer me to what other towns are using this already. Several towns, I think, on the Cape, and we can call them about their experience. They've been using it for several years.
So, I mean, this is going to give insight to the town as to who's the most frequent users, not just who's registered, but who's the most frequent users of taking trash to the dump.
We could get that insight if we wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I know we're out of time. I'll find out more information. We can discuss it at our next meeting. I don't think we have any other items on the agenda tonight. Let's quickly look at our calendars and take a look at what we want to target for a February meeting. Today's the 17th. Do we want to consider like the 14th? Oh, that's Valentine's Day.
That's yeah. There are already dinners booked. If you don't have your dinners booked, book your dinners.
I am not getting in trouble from the MTC. I'm telling you right.
Okay, Jay, who do you love more?
We wouldn't have quorum.
We love you, Jay. Don't you love us back?
I like my life too. So
21st
Why
is good. 28th is good.
Okay. How about the 21st? That's the day after President's Day.
Town meeting is March 25th. Is there anything that we're going to have due for town meeting?
Probably a flyer, but I don't think anything significant.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially we're supportive of the budget.
21st.
21st would be fine.
So that is winter. Is that winter break? Is that going to be an issue with anybody?
My daughter's.
I don't plan on going to spring break this year. Especially
what
not
about for you, Matt? Is that bad for you? Do you have a child still in high school?
We have 2 children in school, but we don't. But we don't have any plans yet. We're considering plans, so I think let's go ahead and tentatively put for right now the 21st, if that works for everybody.
28th is also open as well.
Maybe just for fun, if that's okay with people, if we target the 28th.
Yeah.
Does that work? February 28th?
28th is fine. Yep.
Okay. All right. We'll do the 28th. Thank you, everyone. Any motions to make this 28th tab? Okay. Motions to adjourn.
Aye.
So moved.
Okay, Angela, motion. Joe, second. Let me get that in my notes. Joe, okay. And then let's go around the room. Will?
Aye.
Angela?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And likewise, aye. Thank you, everyone. A wonderful meeting. Sorry we went a few minutes over. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.